Welcome to another meeting of the Lorain County Commissioners, broadcast exclusively on your Lorain County Community College education station. The Lorain County Commissioners cordially invite you to see the meetings live and in person every Thursday morning. The meetings are located in the Lorain County Administration Building, located at 226 Middle Avenue in downtown Elyria. The meetings start at 9:30 a.m. on most weeks. Now, enjoy the
We're on. Okay.
Could we please rise for the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Madam Clerk.
No quote this morning?
No quote.
Trying to be kind of suave and get over that. So.
Well, before we start, I have a couple presentations
Oh,
here.
okay. That's good. That's what I didn't want to quote because I know Commissioner Vassy had some presentations.
Yes, from NACO. This is what they gave us as an award.
That's our award?
That's our award, plus, of course, the certificate that they gave us.
Cool.
And here's
Thanks.
one for your office, Ron. And here's your award back, and we took pictures, and another commissioner used our award because he forgot his. I hope it doesn't show in the picture that it's ours. But anyway, I just wanted to bring this news back to us too. Next year, Jim, we have to try for more awards because some of those commissioners had as many as 10 and 12, 6, 10, 12, for different, one was even for a rabies program that they had going. So let's turn in all we have, but they did refuse a lot of them too, so it wasn't fixed.
We are going to persecute with extreme prejudice next year. So we will be submitting, what's come to our attention here, we don't toot our own horn, nobody's tooting it for us. So we'll be making a lot of award applications and all the wonderful programs we have underway in the county.
And there's a lot going on at the federal level, and I brought back a lot of information, which was really heavy to carry on the plane. And some of it I had to leave. But I've got some videotapes and CDs, and I'll pass these out to different departments. But I do want you to know that the GIS, that mapping program that the county has in place, they are going to use that for EMA. So many different departments will be using our GIS. So let's get prepared for it.
We already use it with EMA and 911. They're already very integrated together with that
Well,
stuff.
here's some CDs for them and census that I'll give you,
Great.
Ron, from the federal level. And a lot of other information there. That's all I have. Thank you.
There we go.
This is red and white candy, thank you. Mr. Cortez, since you didn't get here's inside, it says you can order duplicates of the award if you want to pass them out or something, so why don't you review that?
I bet you they only cost about $1.98.
Well, you can earn copies of that then.
That's what I'm going to have it done. I'll have copies made and framed and one for the hearing room here so that we can hang it
You
up.
can give one to each of us too?
I suppose.
Oh, thank you very much.
Okay.
I'll have some nice duplicates made for each office.
Thank you.
That's why I didn't want to quote. I knew this would all happen, so. Well, now, we had a very efficient 18-minute meeting last week, and I want to see how well you can run the county this week. We'll see how this county goes.
I guarantee you it won't be in 18 minutes, though.
Oh, well.
I want to thank the board for sending me out there. It was very interesting, very educating.
Okay.
Let's go.
All right. Okay, under resolutions, need a motion to approve the Job and Family Services bills for payment.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion. Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Investments.
So
So moved.
moved. Second?
Discussion. Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Appropriations.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Transfers.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
There are no advances this morning. Requisitions.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion. Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye, with the exception of 1236 and 1237, Clemens and Nelson's. And also 1234, third-party administrator. What's that for, Jim?
That's Gates McDonald, our TPA for workers' comp. We've been with them for several years.
Okay, and the price on there was not really clear. It looked like maybe a part of a figure was wiped out. But
I saw that. It was just smudged.
it was like 31,000 or 33,000 or 83,000, and then actually it comes down to 3,700 and something.
That's what it is. It's a quarterly figure. We pay them about, I want to say, roughly $14,000 a year for TPA. Jeff, you have a number on that?
It says a flat fee of whatever that figure is.
That's a quarterly allocation of whatever their annual contract is.
What I think happened is their entire contract is around $17,000 a year. When we passed the original resolution, it was for 2 years, and I think that's where the 30-some thousand figure came from. I think somebody just took a wrong number and looked at the entire contract for 2 years.
But now, is that a flat fee of $3,712.50? Because that's what I think it should be. And I think the 8 or the 3, whatever was in the front of that 3,000, was supposed to be whited out, but it's not totally whited out.
I didn't see that, so I don't know.
Madam Clerk, would you pull that requisition, please?
The sheet.
Yeah, but it was on the actual requisitions.
The dollar value should be $3,000 and some additional funds. I was actually speaking to the rep. I'm sorry.
It's 1234.
Not correct.
Like that's supposed to be whited out.
It looks like they typed over it. Yeah, that should be.
And it should be 3,000.
Right, 3,000.
And it says flat fee.
Right.
So what's that mean for the entire year?
That's 1 quarter.
So then it's really not a flat fee.
Where's he at?
Well, they're not on an hourly basis. They're on a, when they say flat fee, what they're indicating to us is that we're not billed per unit of service. Whether we receive services for 100 hours of services or 10 hours of services, the fees are the same price. It's a guaranteed funding level under the contract, so it's fixed.
So it's fixed for quarterly at 3,700 and...
Well, the original contract was passed for 2 years. I'm assuming right now that's a quarterly payment, because that's usually how they bill us. Jeff, you got more knowledge of that? So they bill us quarterly. They get a flat fee quarterly for their TPA services. So it's not contingent upon the level of work they produce or don't produce for them to get paid under the contract. And that was something that this board insisted upon. They didn't want to go on a fee for service. They wanted a flat, they wanted to know exactly what it was going to cost for the services. It was almost a year and a half ago when we did that contract, rather than having them come in and bill us for 50 hours or 100
Yeah, I know,
hours.
but we still don't know if it's quarterly or how we're being billed at 3,700 and some dollars.
Right, but the contract has a fixed dollar amount and cannot exceed that contracted amount. What I'll
I
do
didn't
is...
see the contract in there, though.
Yeah. Well, normally to pay a quarterly fee, it wouldn't be there, but what I'll do is I'll have the contract pulled from HR after the meeting. We'll bring it in and go over it. And this is not an emergency issue. I don't have a problem with the board holding it, and then we'll take a look at the contract. This is something that can wait.
Oh, what do you want to do? I would say hold it until we're sure how much we're paying and...
Hold it for next week. No problem. What number was that?
It's
1234.
1234.
Okay. But you voted aye on
Oh,
the
I'd
ones
like
with those
to-
two
Pardon me?
exceptions. So you just had the 2 exceptions then?
Oh, yeah, she has it.
Well, actually, yeah, the 2 exceptions, and
36
that one
and
we're going to
37.
hold.
Okay.
I'm willing to amend my motion with 1234 as a whole.
And I second, and I'm
Okay.
in agreement with that.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Okay. Travel expenses.
Aye, or so moved.
Second.
Discussion? Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Okay, I, with the exception of 582 mileage for the ombudsman, I need to know why he's not using a county vehicle.
I'll check on it. I saw the mileage on there. Normally, he does take a county vehicle. At this particular time, there may not have been a vehicle available. Sometimes we do run out of vehicles, and he still has work to do, but I'll verify that.
Is that what happened, Larry? You were nodding your head. That's what happened? Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see him. Usually he's up here.
I was trying to get him to come up here and sit at the...
Larry, come on up here, Larry.
Yeah, but do the employees use the cars that are so-called commissioners' cars?
Yes, and in fact, that's the first alternative for if you have to travel on behalf of the county is a fleet vehicle. Unfortunately, sometimes we're out of fleet vehicles, and the employees can at times be tasked to use their own vehicles. It's the exception rather than the rule. And Larry, I'm assuming that's what happened in this particular case.
Was this one time, or does it happen very often?
Not, generally, I've just been going now. I haven't called up to get a vehicle. I've just been going out to Jobs and Family Services. But I do ask for a car, and if they're not, I just drive my own.
Do you know when you're going out there, or that you can
Every
ask in
Tuesday
advance?
and Wednesdays.
Well, maybe if you reserve it in advance.
Okay.
Commissioners, it may well serve us to, since Larry has 2 locations that he works out of in the same week, it may well serve us to pay him the mileage to go out there rather than tying up a fleet vehicle for several hours sitting in front of the Human Services Department. It may be in our best interest to pay the few cents for mileage so that that vehicle is available for other use rather than just being parked across the county. We can talk about that some more.
Okay.
Yeah, let's talk about it, because I'd like to know how many county vehicles we have
Okay.
assigned to the commissioners that we run out like that.
We have a lot, but we have a lot of use. There's a lot of demand on the fleet vehicles, but we'll sit down. It's that time of year that we need to evaluate the fleet anyway, so I'll get with you on that, and we'll make some decisions.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
You still accepting to that? Okay, approving bills for payment?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Authorize various personnel actions as indicated on the summary for employees within the jurisdiction of Lorain County Commissioners.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Some discussion. I'm the Economic Development Specialist. I'd like to know more about what this person will be doing compared to what the person did before that was in that position.
Commissioner, I was going to request a executive session under my business to talk about potential real estate purchase. So at this time, I would like to request a executive session to discuss personnel issues specifically related to new hires and the potential purchase of real estate, and then we can go in and talk about that.
Okay.
I made the motion, so I guess I'll withdraw it. Is that all right with you or not?
You withdrew it, so I guess I'm going to withdraw my second.
Okay.
Withdraw? Okay. Okay, we need to approve and enter into a renewal agreement with Lorain County Board of Commissioners and Maximus Incorporated of Concord Township, Ohio, in the amount not to exceed $3,000 for an updated space report for the County Department of Job and Family Services, Child Support Enforcement, and the Workforce Development Agency.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Maybe, Jim, what you can do is explain this for the public's information.
Sure.
That's the company that determines what we get reimbursed.
Right, I was just reading it to make sure I was going to explain it properly. What we do is we do a cost study for indirect services provided and also for space allocations with the various entities that receive state funding. And then we're able to cost that back so that the state reimburses us for our actual expense and the general fund is not burdened with those expenses. in order to tap those resources, the state requires us to do an in-depth analysis, and this company does it year after year with us. And I believe it wasn't too long ago that we didn't even do this, and that's something that this board initiated a few years back when we did these cost studies to get our reimbursement. So that's what this does. It brings money back to the county.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Did we vote on that already?
Yeah,
Okay, because I'd like to go out of
oh,
order.
yes, we do. Because then you wanted to.
Mayor Brenner, is everybody here for your part? Okay, this is going a little slower than I thought, so if you guys don't, if the board doesn't mind, I'd like to go to number 15. Is that okay?
Yes, good idea.
Number 15, to approve the Enterprise Zone Agreement tax abatement between the City of Avon Lake and Lesco Incorporated. Lesco is requesting 75% tax abatement for 5 years. The company has invested $2 million in inventory at its location at 739 Moore Road, Avon Lake, Ohio. They will retain 25 to 30 full-time jobs, which will generate approximately $2,200,000 in additional annual payroll. The City of Avon Lake has passed ordinance number 132-2002 approving this agreement, and the Avon Lake Schools and Lorain County Joint Vocational School have also approved this agreement.
So move.
I'll second what you want to hear from.
Then we're going to have a discussion?
Okay, fine.
Okay, here we go.
All right.
Thank you, Commissioners. I just want to just make a few comments about the history of Lesco Incorporated in the city of Avon Lake. Since 1993, when they opened their facility, with this current abatement in place, they were required to maintain a minimum of 30 employees, and they have exceeded those numbers anywhere from 6 to 36 each year since that time, which in essence has almost doubled the amount of payroll taxes several years that we had expected in the abatement. Also, with respect to the abatement on the inventory, with the inception of this 10 years ago, they have maintained a much higher level of inventory than was abated. In fact, since 1993, there's been several years where the level of inventory has exceeded $10 million, and therefore the amount that was abated and the amount that they paid actually exceeded the amount that was expected of them. The concern that we have is in the last 2 years, they've gone through several restructurings, and they have actually turned over their entire board of managers and directors, and they have reorganized their corporation. At this point, their intentions are to make the city of Avon Lake a hub for distribution, which will maintain the inventory levels and the job placement levels. We were one of the locations that they had intended to close at the end of 2002, but with this extension of this 5-year extension of the abatement, it will become a hub. And with that in mind, they have been a very good corporate citizen for the last 9 years, and they have exceeded all of their levels of expectations to the community.
I just have a question. Is this for personal property, tax abatement, or real estate?
It's only for personal property on inventory.
On new equipment?
No new equipment.
On all equipment?
Just on inventory.
Oh, inventory.
Only.
Okay.
Personal property and inventory only.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Does community development have anything to add to that, or?
Rebecca Jones of our staff has worked closely with legal counsel for Avon, Tim DeJeter, as well as Mayor Berner, and Rebecca has indicated to me that we are in support of this. We have been a party to this. It's also been reviewed by Jerry Ennis of the County Prosecutor's Office, and we are recommending approval of this 5-year abatement at 75%.
Thank you.
I just have one clarification, I believe, unless someone has more to offer. There was a letter received from the Avon Lake Board of Education. Do you have that letter? And then I believe the Joint Vocational School has been notified, but it doesn't appear that they have.
We do have both letters. We
You have
received
both
yesterday
letters?
afternoon
Okay.
the letter from JVS. We apologize for that, but
Thank
all
you.
of that, there's a period of notification that's required of the city and county to those two school districts, and that period was provided, and both schools have sent letters of support and taken the appropriate action.
Thank you for the clarification.
Would anybody else like to speak, or? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Okay, back to item 11.
Thank you.
Resolution supporting the annual comprehensive economic development strategy update for the year 2002-2003.
Hey, Ron, would you like to speak to this issue?
Talking to Yvonne. This is on the SEDS. We do meet annually every year for an EDA grant. We are required as a county, as are all 88 counties in the state of Ohio, required to look at a list of projects that should bad economic times hit Lorain County or communities, locations become distressed with high unemployment, we need to have a list for the EDA of projects in priority order. This is due in Columbus and Chicago every year by September. We're a little ahead of time on this, but in the spring of every year, usually it's about March, April, or May, we sit down with all of the entities, get their list of projects, do a narrative on those projects, and the communities, under our guidance, help prioritize, first of all, the number one project, and then not necessarily in any particular order after that, but it is somewhat projects that they feel are more important, all of the other projects with the description, and that's called a SEDS, Community Economic Development Strategy. Our contact is in Columbus. His name is Bob Hickey. Maybe that name for some will register. The project that we are submitting this year is the number one ED project, is the City of Lorain's Industrial Park. It has been the number one project for several years running. We do feel that that one will be probably finished both this year and next. We have projects. Rebecca, do you remember how many total projects we had?
15.
15?
15 on the...
15 on the ED, and then we also have planning projects, and that's one where studies or engineering, architectural services are required, and that's another set of priorities that we go through. In the city of Elyria, I believe, was the number one project that's submitted. Typically, they will provide funding for the number one projects that the counties submit. However, if the number one project is not ready to go and the requirements are met, and say somebody moves into, let's use Avon Lake since they were here this morning, and it's a good company and it's bringing in jobs and investments and they need assistance at the federal level, we can call down to Mr. Hickey and let them know that here are 300 jobs ready to move to Avon Lake, and there is a chance, if they're on our SEDS, that that project could be elevated and funded in that particular year. So it's somewhat a housekeeping issue. It is a requirement of the county to do. We've followed the process and we have completed this task. We are pleased to tell the commissioners that we feel it's in order. You've received a copy of that, and that we would like to move that forward. But this is more than just a housekeeping issue. It's an important issue for the future of Lorain County and creating and retaining jobs here in Lorain County.
Ron, what happens after we submit this list?
After we submit the list, then Mr. Hickey looks at it and communicates from the Columbus office to the Chicago office, and as communities that are high on that list move forward with projects, they can deal directly then with Mr. Hickey, or they can come to us and we can jointly deal with EDA in order to secure the funding necessary. Typically, Elyria and Lorain in the past few years have been the number one projects on the ED side and on planning side, and their staff is adequate. They keep us informed, but they have dealt directly with that. We have had projects like from the Rural Water Authority for water towers, and if it means job creations, they typically will come to us and we will jointly go with Tim Mahoney to EDA and secure that funding for that particular project. So, you know, from this, it has to be on that list or it can't be funded. That list has to be submitted to Columbus We have to go through the process, so that's why I called this a house cleaning effort. That just makes us potentially eligible once you approve this list and send it to Columbus. From there, once a project is online and ready to receive the funding, then there's another series of efforts that we have to do here at the county with the
Is
community.
there a requirement with those projects that they have to create jobs?
I think in most cases, except for the planning portion, on the ED side, there is a requirement for job creation. It can be a blighted situation and jobs that are being retained, I believe. But on the planning, obviously, the planning side is different because you're not creating jobs. You're usually getting money to hire a consultant to help augment the demands of the community to make sure that they have their planning documents in order for funding sources.
Okay, so you're looking for a letter of support, or are you looking for us to approve your list?
You need to pass a motion here, the resolution, to allow us to submit that list of projects, the SEDS, to Mr. Hickey and Chicago for approval as the official document, the SEDS document to the EDA folks.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, also move.
I'll second.
Any more discussion? Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Thanks, Ron. Sure, you might have to stay up here for the next one.
I'd like to authorize the Lorain County Community Development Department to file an application with their Ohio Department of Development in the amount of $40,000 for available microenterprise business development program. Funds to be used for technical assistance, training, and business loans between $250,000 and $20,000. We'd like to authorize the president or vice president to execute on behalf of the board.
Commissioners, I am pleased to say that this is a process. This application is due prior to the end of August. I think the date is August 15th. In the past, we have submitted applications the last 2 years, 2 previous years. We call the microenterprise program here locally the LAMP program. Is for businesses with 5 or fewer employees, and it's for loans up to $20,000 per business. It involves banks as well as the county on this project. The state they have in the past approved us for a microenterprise loan, but have not funded it. Instead, they have allowed us to use $50,000 from our county revolving loan fund, which originated with the State Department of Development. So it's their money as well as our money, and that's where we have come up with some of the funds to do that. And of course, the commissioners have authorized some general fund. What we are doing at this point is asking permission to submit yet another grant for the year 2003 to the Department of Development for continuation of the micro enterprise program. And because of the payments and the way that the payments are made into this fund, every year the dependence on the general fund is less and less. I think this year we were talking about $30,000 or $40,000 of general fund. If you remember, the state will not let us use their funds or these revolving loan funds for the city of Elyria and Lorain because they go directly to HUD. And that's why the commissioners have had to put some county funds in there, and we segregate Elyria Lorain projects from the rest of the county. But at this point, if we don't make an application, we stand no hope of continuing the LAMP program. At this point, we are asking to make this application on behalf of the Board of Commissioners. The deadline, as I remember, is August 15th, so there is time. If you decide that you don't want to take action today, we can postpone this, or you can approve today.
Okay, thanks. Also move.
Second.
Any more discussion? Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
I'd like to authorize the Department of Job and Family Services to enter into a maintenance plan contract for the Windows version of the Quarterly Information System and Random Moment Sampling System, of which are part of the Maximus Ledger Suite. This contract will cover the state fiscal year 2003, which is July 1st, 2002 through June 30th, 2003. The cost of the contract for their combined agencies will be $2,500 and will be paid through their contract services account. I'd like to authorize the president or vice president to execute on behalf of the board.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy? Aye.
I'd like to approve and enter into the following contracts with the Department of Job and Family Services. The first one will be a purchase of service contract between Department of Job and Family Services and Common Ground of Oberlin, Ohio, for the delivery of a self-exploration asset discovery and environmental education program. Contract is effective retroactive to July 1st, 2002 through June 30th, 2003, in the amount of $28,565 for state fiscal year 2003. I'd like to authorize the President or Vice President to execute this on behalf of the Board. And a daycare contract with Country Kids Daycare Center of Litchfield, Ohio, effective retroactive to June 4th, 2002 through December 31st, 2002.
So move.
Second.
Discussion? Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Jump to number 16. To amend Resolution Number 02-517 that was adopted July 11, 2002, project between the Lorain County Metro Parks and the Solid Waste Management District to clean up a pile of tires located at 9391 Dean Road in Brownhelm Township. This amendment is to reflect a change in the name of the district's tire contractor from Central Ohio Contractors to Liberty Tire Services of Ohio. This is strictly a housekeeping matter.
So moved.
I'll second.
Discussion? Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
No, I don't feel that this promotes competition. It assists in creating a monopoly.
Okay. I'd like to approve the semi-annual revolving loan fund report for the period January 1st, 2002 through June 30th, 2002, as prepared and submitted by the Lorain County Community Development Department. Balance as of December 31st, 2001 was $455,386.20. Available cash balance as of June 30th, 2002 is $460,953.38. This balance does not reflect the $100,000 awarded to Wellington's Whirlaway project in December of 2001. I'd like to authorize the President or Vice President to execute this report on behalf of the Board, so this can be submitted to the Ohio Department of Development.
Also moved.
I'll second.
Discussion?
Yes. Hey, Ron, with $460,000 in here, I don't suppose that the state is going to grant us another $40,000 for the LAMP program. I think they're going to come back and say, use some of this money. I do too, and not only that, but I think we can use some of this money rather than general fund money, because actually it does promote.
Yeah, but we cannot use the revolving loan funds instead of the general fund because the point of origin was the federal government and the state of Ohio. So you would have to commit general fund dollars for the Elyria and Lorain portion of the microenterprise program. You're absolutely correct. We feel that the state will tell us to use $40,000 or $50,000 from the revolving loan fund, and we think they're correct in doing that. I will tell you that right now the staff is working on 6 different deals that probably within the next 3 to 6 months, these projects take a while to put in place, should remove that balance down closer to $100,000 to $150,000 maximum. So we are, while the amount is high right now, we are actively working and have, I think there are 8 applications that we have on file right now for loans. That doesn't mean all of them are going to be qualified or eligible or good projects to go forward, but we have at least 4 and probably as many as 6 that we think will lower that dollar amount.
But this is actually money that the county loans out to companies over the $20,000 amount. The $20,000 is for smaller businesses. Maybe you can explain a little bit.
Typically, the loans that come through the revolving loan fund are in that $60,000 to $120,000 range. It goes before the county's Lorain County Economic and Industrial Development Corporation. They review it and look at the applications as well as staff and make recommendation to the Board of Commissioners, and that's how these funds are spent. Quite often it has business and inventory expansions that are involved with this. It can be business attraction, but it's physical plant, machinery that we use this fund for to attract businesses or help retain businesses that are in Lorain County.
Bottom line, create jobs and
Yep.
retain jobs within
Yep.
the county. Thanks, Ron.
And Rebecca, again, on this project, has worked hard to keep those dollars in line, and while the dollar amount is higher than what the state or we or the commissioners, it doesn't do us any good sitting in a bank account.
Exactly.
We all know that. She's worked hard to get the numbers so we know exactly where they are, and we're submitting those to state. Brian Barker and Karen Johnston, as well as Rebecca, have been working to get these 8 applications and are out and about trying to bring companies in and help companies that want to expand during these tough economic times to do just that. And we think that we are fairly close to having about $300,000 or $400,000 go out of that account.
And it builds up again after it's used, so.
Yeah, we've got one client that ended up, when Pat Knight was here, that put together a very nice deal that used a lot of our money and also used the state money that would stay here. So every time they make a payment, it's substantial, so that's why this elevates rather quickly.
Good, I'm glad to see that we're using it, because for too many years, it's been just sitting there.
Correct.
Thank you very much.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
I'd like to approve and enter into various contract addendums and amendments between the Lorain County Board of Commissioners on behalf of the Children and Families Council for the Help Me Grow initiative, effective, this should be retroactive to July 1st, 2002 through June 30th, 2002, from TANF and GRF, and October 1st, 2001 through September 30th, 2002, Part C, and authorize payment for various contracts and authorize the President or Vice President to execute on behalf of the Board. The first one with the Elyria City Health Department, addendum to contract in the sum of $8,779.70 for TANF and Part C in the sum of $9,200. Total contract value shall not exceed $333,843.88. Funds allocated are from the following: TANF dollars, $242,370.22. GRF funding, $76,845.56. And Part C, $14,628.10. Number 2, Lorain County General Health District, addendum to contract in the sum of $1,260.65 for GRF, and Part C in the sum of $3,500. Total contract value shall not exceed $147,960.65. Funds allocated from the following are TANF dollars, $83,317, GRF funding, $30,243.65, and Part C, $34,400. Number 3, Lorain City Health Department, addendum to contract in the sum of $26,000 for Part C. Total contract value shall not exceed $321,703.17. Funds allocated from the following are TANF dollars, $151,987, GRF funding, $99,545.17, and Part C, $70,171. Number 4, Neighborhood House Association of Lorain County, addendum to contract in the sum of $1,500 for GRF. Total contract value shall not exceed $209,462.76. Funds allocated from the following are TANF dollars, $191,352.10, GRF funding, $13,110.66, and Part C, $0. And number 5, music therapy, addendum to contract in the sum of $2,414 for TANF, and Part C in the sum of $5,500. Total contract value shall not exceed $22,314. Funds allocated from the following are TANF dollars, $5,530, GRF funding, $2,934, and Part C, $13,850.
I just have one question. Perhaps one would like to speak to this, but in the beginning, on the third line, it says effective July 1st, 2002 through June 30th, 2002. Those dates cannot be correct.
Shouldn't that be July
2003.
2001, right?
Yeah, these contracts are for the year that just ended, Commissioner.
Right, so that would be July 1st, 2001 through
July
June
1st,
30th, 2002.
2001.
Look at the third sentence, first date.
You have the agenda in front of you?
Yes, I do, ma'am.
Third line.
July 1, 2001.
Well, it says 2002 here. That's my question. It should be 2001.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm looking at my copy.
That's why I said look at the agenda.
You're absolutely right.
So what should it be? 2001, Commissioner.
01, should be 7/1, July 1st, 2001 through June 30th, 2002.
Commissioners, as you know, a lot of money was moved around in these contracts. These are all housekeeping resolutions to balance the contracts. All year long, there's been an aggressive pursuit of getting money spent by moving the money around to the people that were getting the money into the community. I'm pleased to tell you that Children and Family First was able to spend 91% of the vendor money. 91% of the money that was out to the vendors was spent this year, which is exceptional.
Well, if we don't, it goes back to the state.
Right.
You need to say that.
It does, and we lose it, and we lose it forever. Overall, with admin monies and all the program monies, we were able to utilize 80% of all the funding received. Now, while 80% is not 100%, it's an exceptional amount of money to be using because the requirements of the state are so difficult to muddle through sometimes. So that is up. The 80% is up from 38%. You have your numbers, Juan? Why don't you share them with the board, please?
And Madam Clerk, just a typo on number 4, Neighborhood House Association. It should read TANF 196,352.
Okay, thanks.
I think that kind of answered my question, too. I wondered why there was all these amendments,
It's just to balance out the
because the
contract
money is
years
being
end.
moved around.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, what I've handed out to the board and to Mr. Cordes is a comparison of the TANF dollars that have been expended by the council since fiscal year 1999. And you'll see that each year we've had a increase in not only the number of children that have been served, but also in the amount of dollars, TANF dollars. This reflects only the TANF dollars of the Help Me Grow initiative. So you'll see, as Mr. Cordes pointed out, that this year we have expended $781,483. That includes administrative costs against an award of $970,820.
You know, Ron, it's good to have this money coming in from the state and everything, but how do we know what the bottom line is? I mean, does it really assist families or children? How do we know, that it's working?
That's an excellent question, Commissioner. In my opinion, I think that part of the priority from the state is to assure that the numbers are being reached. In Lorain County, the numbers are being reached. The longer question, the longer-term impact of what those numbers indicate, we really don't see that data until 5 or 6 years down the road, where then the indicators of such things like child abuse and prevention, school reading levels, immunizations, those kinds of indicators that we collect data on when a child is 5 years old, 7 years old, and entering into high school. That's where you really begin to look at the impact of programs that are targeting the 0 to 3 population today. So it's not like we could turn around next year and say our program has had a positive impact. It takes 5 years to really do a complete review of the initiatives that were conducted at this point in time. And that's one of the flaws, I think, with a lot of the programming that goes on, not only at the state level, but also at the federal level, is that the data is not being received in a shorter amount of time. And I think, to give credit to the state, I think that there's folks at the Ohio Department of Health that are looking at this, and they review this every year in terms of how is it that we could glean more accurate information and from programs that are being implemented today in a shorter period of time. It usually takes 5 years.
Well, that brings up another thing, too. Ohio has an Ohio Reads First program. I believe it was Taft that
Yes.
put that in. And what it is anyone that can volunteer some time and just go into the schools and help kids to learn how to read. It's basically volunteers that can offer maybe half hour a day or an hour a day in different schools. And I think most of the schools in Lorain County participate in it. So that's another good program, too. Because usually kids don't want to sit down or they have to be really coaxed into doing it with mom, dad, or an older brother or sister. But if it's a stranger that goes into the school, they kind of get attached and the kids pay more attention, I think.
Yes, there are some programs where we can get some concrete information earlier on. For example, you hear a lot of talk now about fetal alcohol syndrome. So there's an initiative not only with Help Me Grow, but other programs to have women that are pregnant not drink. The importance of not drinking any alcohol whatsoever when you're pregnant. And because in 9 months when that baby, hopefully if they go full term, the baby is born with fetal alcohol syndrome. And what we're doing what we plan on purchasing with the Help Me Grow dollars in fiscal year '03 are the Baby Think It Over dolls, but they now have come out with a doll with fetal alcohol syndrome. And you compare that doll with a full-term healthy baby, and you see the comparisons, and it really is a dramatic effect as an educational tool to have pregnant women not drink any alcohol whatsoever. So those are the kinds of things that on a shorter term we can get hard data.
It's good, because even those babies that they give out now are effective.
This is the 782,000 is just TANF dollars. There was about $1.5 million run through the Children and Family First Agency last year. Is that correct?
That's correct. Help Me Grow was $1.5 million.
Okay. So this is just one portion of the dollars that are being brought here through Children and Family First initiatives and providing services to the people in Lorain County. I tell you this good news, Commissioners, because I'm going to be approaching you within the next few weeks because I need some additional funding for Children and Family First Council. Where, as in previous years, we've not able to access enough admin monies. The board was very generous on some advances last year that we're going to come up a little bit short on. So I want to remind you of this good news when I come to see you in a week or two with the bad news.
Children and Family First, some of the other departments were contributing too. Children's Service did, Human Services did. What happened there?
And you sent me out last year on the same initiative to see if anybody would participate and cover some of the expenses. And I'm sorry to say that nobody wants to give any additional funding to help us. The general fund will end up putting in this year about $40,000 of additional funding that's not going to be recovered.
I think that, in my opinion, we should approach some of these agencies that are getting these grants and tell them, to cough it up.
Well, what we're trying to do is we're trying to restructure with program monies this year. We're doing some program initiatives. Juan and I have huddled over several ways of using funding in innovative methods so that we can recover more of those monies. But I just want to point out that bringing $1.8 million into Lorain County at a cost of $30,000 or $40,000 from the general fund, the leverage is there. It's right that we do this, and it's right that we support.
Well, I think it's right that these people that are receiving these hundreds of thousands of dollars should contribute to the cause too. I think it benefits them as well as the public, because that's people that they're putting to work in their agencies too.
Right.
And some of this money goes for that. So I believe that, you know how I feel. The general fund money is for mandated services that we are mandated to provide. And all too often what happens is when we contribute to other services and other agencies that we're not mandated to contribute to, our other departments suffer. And those are services that the public are accustomed to and need too. And I mean, I'm sorry, Juan, you may look at it and say, well, the general fund has an obligation, but I feel all these other agencies have obligations to the public too.
In the end, under the structure that the state has put into place, we are the administrative agent by fault because nobody else will do it. So the state, it's almost an unfunded mandate, Commissioner. The administrative monies are out there, and we tap them as heavily as possible, trying to draw down as much as we can, and we are going to move into the program area and draw some resources there. But in the end, we don't have a choice on whether we want to be the administrative agent. We're told we will be if nobody else will do it, and that's the situation we've been in. I know it's some cost, but in some ways I'm glad we're in that, because you can see that we've proved that we can do this. These numbers have been growing steadily since this board has taken over with these issues, and we're doing a good job. But we will continue to try to get other dollars. I promise you that. But I didn't just want to give you the good news without telling you what else.
Because what happens, if they think that they can come to the cookie jar, which is the commissioners over here, and always get the money, just, you know, cough it up, commissioners, and we'll sit back here and just continue to ask you for it rather than to provide what we're supposed to assist in any way that they can. You know, $40,000 is not a lot when you think about all these agencies that receive this money. A couple thousand apiece, we can probably hit the 40,000, or even 5,000 apiece, and it's not going to hurt them.
I think you're being modest. I think when you have numbers from 144 children being served to 650 and 1281, it's not modest gains. You're talking huge.
59.
I know. Well, I know. I didn't want to go back that long.
Well, I think you should, because I think it shows how the program is
And for an
growing.
investment of $40,000 to get a couple $1 million doesn't seem like that much to me.
Well, I just didn't want to order ourselves without telling you that in a week or two you'll be getting some news.
And I'm
that
sure you
may
can
be
do the same
slightly
thing you did last year. Start hitting everybody up for,
I will.
you know, so.
I'd like to, if I may, just take a moment to just note that this was a real collaborative effort to achieve what we've achieved this past year by all of the 11 vendors that contracted with the council and the board. And I'd like to thank Jim Cortez, because it really took some hardcore, heavy meetings to get this thing done. So, Jim, I appreciate your direction and your help.
Thanks, Juan.
Mr. Chairman, I'll also move for approval on item number 18.
Second.
Any more discussion? Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
I'd like to approve the Lorain County Domestic Relations Court Juvenile Division to apply for funding in the amount of $10,000 from the Adidas America Corporate Giving Program. This funding will enable the court to establish the rewards program, focusing on providing youths who go above and beyond what's expected of them in court programming, and there's no cash match to this grant.
Second.
Discussion? Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
I think this is a terrific program, because too often good deeds go unrecognized. And I think when people are recognized, they even put more effort into whatever it is they're doing. So I think it's really great.
Okay, to reappoint various members to the Lorain County Mental Health Board effective July 18, 2002, expiring June 30, 2006. Robert McIntyre, Joseph Rebar, George Abram, and Emma Alvarado.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
I'd like to authorize Lorain County to terminate its existing lease with Educational Service Center of Elyria, Ohio, effective July 31st, 2002. Authorize the president or vice president to execute a quitclaim deed and issue a warrant in the amount of $14 payable to Mary Ann Jameson, Lorain County Recorder.
So moved.
Second. Sorry. Take your choice.
Go ahead.
You got two.
Whoever first. Discussion? Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
I'd to request the Lorain County Auditor, pursuant to our Ohio Revised Code Section 5705.03, to certify to the Board of Commissioners the total current tax valuation of the county and the dollar amount of revenue that will be generated by, and this should read, 0.35 mils for the purpose of the Emergency 911 Replacement Levy.
Also move.
I'll second, but I need to know, why are we talking about a replacement and instead of a renewal?
Okay.
Is this increase from the last levy? Because I remember when this levy was like 1 point something.
Commissioners, at this time, we're not asking for anything to be placed on the ballot. This is merely a new formality to be able to get certification of dollar values and levels from the auditor's office. I have met with the budget director and the E911 director, and we have quite a bit of materials that we'll be sharing with the board. But I want to verify the dollars so that when we speak to you, we're speaking in accurate dollar terms. So this will get us to dollars, and long before we ask you to put anything on the ballot, we will come and justify our position and let you know what's needed.
Okay, but you're asking for a replacement dollar amount of .35. I would like to compare that with a renewal also.
And you look at number
item
23.
Number 23, I think there's two items that will get two different sets of figures.
Okay, because there are several different levies that can be put on
Yes.
the ballot.
Right now, 911 has a .15 and a .10, which was combined for a total of .35. The reason that the two separate levies are still out,
Say it again.
excuse me,
2.5.
sorry, .25 and a .10.
Okay.
The reason that there's two levies out there, although they were combined into one initiative on the last ballot drive, was that they're based upon different valuations at different times because they were renewals, so they have to be collected independently. So we're currently operating on a .35 two renewals, a .10 and a .25. What I will do is I will get the dollars from the auditor, verified against the dollars that we believe will be generated, so we can give you very accurate information. And at that point, we will do our best to justify to you what's going to be needed at the 911 agency. But I didn't want to give you information predicated upon numbers that had not been certified, because then we'd have to go through the process again.
And, well, I know we're talking about the 911, but there's also another one coming up, is mental health.
Yes,
And I'd like the same information for that one.
Yes.
And also, mental health has two levies on, and I don't think that the public really knows that there's two levies. It's like, today I'm going to vote on one levy, and 2 years from now, I'm going to vote on a different levy, thinking that I'm voting on that same one I voted for 2 years ago, when in fact it's not. It's two different levies.
Right.
And I would like to know if we can combine those into one, if we would be better off.
Okay, I met with Ms. Levin and Mr. Rokas earlier this week, and we went over quite a bit of numbers and spreadsheets, and they will be bringing additional information back. They wanted to be on the agenda last week, but I asked them to wait because I knew you wanted to participate in that, and we'll probably have them on the agenda in 2 or 3 weeks from now when we have the 911 on the agenda, and they'll have to share that in. We'll get that information to you before then, and then we can discuss it there. But we have been going over their numbers through the budget department so that they can give you good factual information about what they plan on doing with the money that would be collected in a levy, because right now they will probably be asking for a replacement levy rather than a renewal, and they have to convince you that they need those
I would say,
dollars.
especially a replacement.
So you're telling me the auditor just can't give us this information? We have to pass a resolution to ask him to give us this information?
That's the new law, sir.
Nobody's systems between the auditor has.
Well, I will say the auditor's office has cooperated and shared data with us, but I like the data to be certified before we discuss it more publicly. But we have got cooperation from the auditor's office. They have given us what I would consider some buff numbers to work with.
And while we're talking about the levies too, like mental health is not the only one that has two levies on. 911 wasn't the only one. Mental retardation did, and Ellen Painter was kind enough to drop the one levy because they had sufficient funds to last them for a few years. But, you know, when it comes to two different levies like that, I personally think it's deceiving the public because they think that they're voting on that same levy. So if we can combine them, and I don't know, I may be wrong. It may be some other reason that I'm not aware of that we have two different levies for one agency. I need to know that, though.
Well, and I will bring that information forward to you, Commissioner, before you're asked to either agree or not agree to place these issues on the ballot. With 911, it is one levy. It's just the valuation is collected differently, but it is a one levy at .25. So
when will we get the information?
Once this resolutions are passed, I should have the information from the auditor's office in a few days, and then I will meet with each commissioner along with the budget director and division. We'll start talking about the numbers that are there, and then we'll obviously talk about it here in the public hearing room once we place it on the agenda for your approval or disapproval.
Don't they want to be on this November?
Yes, and we have to do all this prior to August 22nd.
Okay, that's the date I was looking.
And Jim, while we're doing this too, can we have someone explain to the public, like all these different levies, there's like 7 different levies?
Yes.
Could put on the ballot, and the language could be really, the public could not know what the language means. Like we've got an additional, a renewal with an increase, a renewal with a decrease, a replacement with an increase, a replacement with a decrease. I think the public has to be aware of actually what they're voting for when they see that little language, renewal or replacement. Which one is going to increase my taxes? You know, and can these agencies live within the budget that they had last year, or do they actually have to increase them? You know what I mean?
Yes, I do,
think the
Commissioner.
public has to know this stuff before they go to the ballot box and just vote out of the compassion of their heart. Well, I just feel, that mental health needs it, whatever agency it is, 911, we're getting used to it, we need it. There are good programs out there, but people have to be educated on why that money is needed and if it's a replacement renewal. So if we can have somebody come up here and explain this.
Well, I'm certain, Commissioner, that each of these agencies would welcome the opportunity, to have a televised presentation and have a chance to explain to people why they need that. So I'm sure they'd be very excited about this opportunity.
And I
I think that would
expect
be
if
great.
someone's going to come here and ask us to vote on putting this on a ballot, they better be here to explain it.
They will be here to explain. Obviously, the 911 initiative is ours. I will be working with Robin Jones in discussing that here in the public hearing room. And as I indicated, I have met with Ms. Levin. She's very agreeable. She will be in here to explain it. We would merely going over her information to make it in a good presentable form for the board when it's ready. And Mr. Okersey was very much involved with that. And Charlie Neff, their finance director, was also in. So a lot of behind-the-scenes work going on, and we will make sure you have very good, accurate, and timely information. And I agree, I'll have somebody come in and explain all these
I don't
issues.
want the 2 agencies to feel that we're picking on these 2 in particular. We go through this with all of them, mental retardation, all of them. But it's just that I think that the public should be aware of more of this. And Jerry, if you can explain the differences, because it's good for the agencies to come up here and explain it to us, but I would like for someone like yourself possibly to explain to the public.
Can we wait
these
until
different
after we get all the numbers to do all that?
and
Yeah, no, I don't mean today.
And part of what you're talking about is why this step is in place. It used to be a practice where you could go in and you could actually be passing the levies without actually having the official numbers. And then after the levy was passed, you find out those numbers are a little bit different than what you thought they were. So they have implemented this step by law before you can even begin to actually consider what you want to do. You have to get a certification from the auditor these are the hard numbers, and you have to pass them in two resolutions like this, so you can have the numbers for a replacement levy and a number for a renewal levy. So then a few weeks from now, when you do sit down to consider which it is you want to pass, everybody has the hard figures and you know exactly what you're working with.
Yeah, we asked for this individually, I know, in the years past, but now it's good that this is made public. It's good.
But it does create a little bureaucracy in having to go through this first step, and it looks like you're actually doing something or making a decision, but right now you're just asking to get the official figures.
Okay.
Okay, Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
And also to request the Lorain County Auditor pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 5705.03 to certify to the Board of Commissioners the total current tax valuation of the county and the dollar amount of revenue that would be generated by .35 mills for the purpose of the emergency 911 renewal levy.
That should also be 3.35 mils, and I will so move.
Second.
Discussion? Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Okay, reports, comments, Mr. Cordez, Administrator?
I have one quick issue. I believe the auditor's office is once again concerned with their T1 line or lack of T1 line down in their department, and have corresponded with the commissioners. Commissioner Blair asked me to look into the matter yesterday, and this goes back to an old issue on DS3 lines and an issue that's been before this board for several months. I've asked Mr. Smith to come up and explain this and talk to this issue. We're at the point now where we need to go ahead with the DS3 line, or we need to allow the auditor to gain his own T1 line. Ernie, would you come to the podium and try to explain this? It's beyond my ability to explain.
Something's beyond you.
Slightly.
With the new websites coming online and other things already currently in place, we just need more bandwidth. We have several T1 lines now going between here and the Altel building. We could roll all those together into a DS3 line, save money, and have the additional bandwidth readily at hand. It would take care of the auditor and any other agency that required more bandwidth.
But some of them,
And the auditor's okay with that?
I spoke with the assistant manager for the auditor yesterday, and yes, he is okay with it.
so, yeah, but some of the departments prefer to have their own line. I'd like to take a survey of all of them to find out how.
Well, that would be equivalent to the different departments going out and getting their own phone system. We basically work the same. We have an infrastructure in place. The most efficient way to do it would be for them just to join what we're doing, rather than going out for their own contract.
I don't know, I've heard some of them give me reasons why they would like their own, so I would just, we're not voting on this today, are we?
Well, I guess the issue is we can vote on it. According to my information, the auditor requested the T1 line, and he spoke to me on 2 occasions about it, so I asked Mr. Cortez to review it, and the information I got back was that the DS3 line would be the preferred, that it could handle all the T1 lines. Isn't that what you're saying?
The DS3 line would save the county approximately $12,000 annually once installed.
Okay.
There's initial installation fees that would eat up most of that the first year, but we realize savings of approximately $12,000 a year.
Savings?
Yes.
And it would be more
That would-
efficient to do the 1 line instead of 3 separate or 4 separate or something? You equated it to a telephone system.
All the bandwidth, it's one big pipe. The telephone traffic, the telephone line, the data lines would all travel on the DS3.
Yeah, I would prefer that than having every department with their own T1. That's the biggest waste.
It's not a good thing for the departments to go out for their own bandwidth.
I agree.
Did you talk to Mark Stewart about getting on the T3 or whatever?
This is called DS3?
The system managers met some time ago and discussed it, and there was only one systems manager that had a slight problem with it. And it was not a technical problem that he had issues with. Technically, all the systems managers are in agreement with the DS3 line.
Yeah, but they're systems managers. I prefer to talk to the elected official. See how they feel about it. Did Mark have any preference, Betty, when you talked with him?
I didn't speak to him regarding this DS3. What his request was that he wanted approval for the T1 line, and I said to him that it needed to go through channels, so I asked Mr. Cortez to look into it.
The word I received from, and Don says, and I don't know whether it came from Mr. Stewart or Mr. Milovich, was that they would be satisfied with the DS3. They were just somewhat impatient. They had been waiting quite a bit of time, so they moved back to their original request because they did not feel that we were going to move on anything.
I have it on my to-do list to call Mark today. I just didn't have time this morning, being I just got back to. But I would ask that the board hold this up at least another week until I get with Mark and some of the other department heads. See, I'd like to feel them up.
Well, that's fine. My position's gonna be real simple. I won't vote for a T1 line for any other department. So whatever, it's up to you two to make that decision. I'll support the DS3.
Well, if Mr. Stewart has a need to move forward, and he has outlined it in a letter, and this addresses the issue, and we are the ones that make the final decision, I don't want to wait another week. I mean, we spend a lot of time waiting here, and I understand there's always questions to be asked, but can we give a tentative approval to proceed with this so that we can get it in motion so that we're not delayed for another week in this process? I mean, I asked you to speak to the auditor's office about it, and you have through Ernie Smith.
I believe that was the proper channel, Commissioner.
Okay. So I think it's a decision that we can appropriately make. I respect the fact that you want to do your own homework on it, but I don't want to delay this anymore. Twice this past week, the auditor has spoken to me about this. I didn't have the background information in front of me, so I asked him to review it. I think that this is a plausible alternative, and it appears that we've been working on this issue since March.
Since my first week on the job.
Okay, so, yeah, so this was your recommendation in April, and now it's July,
Yes, Commissioner.
and time's a wasting as far as I'm concerned.
Well, this has been ongoing even before you got here, that we
Right.
talked about this.
Right?
And we still haven't moved
So
away from where we were.
What do we need to do to approve this today?
Well, Mr. Cortez, you brought it up.
Well, I brought it up because I was assigned an issue. I think that somebody has the sheet up here with all the numbers on it, and you merely need to approve or disapprove that. The cost data that's provided there that was sent to us some time ago.
Well, if I would have known that this was going to be brought up off the floor, I would have made an extra effort to get a hold of Mark this morning. But I didn't see it on the agenda, didn't think it was going to be brought up. I read the letter this morning, and I was, like I said, I have a note to call
May
him.
I suggest this? We have to recess into executive session for 2 issues.
If I can get a hold of Mark.
Well, someone else could call him while we're in that session, too. That would not satisfy you.
I would personally like to talk with him, to know just exactly where he stands. I mean, sometimes, how is he paying for this? Is it going to come out of the general fund? Is it his fund?
The DS3 line would...
The 3 line would come out of general fund.
Yes, it would, Commissioner.
But when he's asking for an individual line, does he intend to pay for it out of his funds?
Yes, I believe he did. It says here, further, this will not be a general fund expense. The auditor's real estate assessment fund will absorb all the costs associated with this venture, which is fine. Maybe he wants to contribute his portion of it towards the DS3.
Mr. Stewart's letter was if he struck out on his own to go get his own T1.
Okay.
It is my recommendation that he not do that he be provided the bandwidth with the DS3. It's equivalent to providing telephone service. Ultimately, it is a telephone line.
And when you put it in that vein, I think it makes it more understandable for me. We upgraded our telephones a while ago, and we are in charge of the building, and that's our job.
My letter from April also has 4 recommendations, all need to be looked at the same time with this, because there will be housekeeping measures involved with pulling this together, because it will be stepping away from, we're moving to a new technology, and there's a lot of work to be done in the background.
Who would be installing this?
Alltel.
The installation is $18,000, and a monthly charge is $1,648. Is that correct?
The $1,648 monthly charge is for the hardware that will receive the DS3 into the building. The $2,082 is my recommendation for doubling the bandwidth that we currently have. And I've also asked for leeway in being able to increase that bandwidth as required, so I can work with the different departments and provide them with the bandwidth that they need when they need it.
What's the $18,000?
That is the one-time installation and purchasing charges.
So actually, the monthly charge then is like $3,700 and something.
The very last page of the letter, if you have that, breaks it out with the diagram showing the separate T1s that we already have. The monthly charge is close to $13,000 because you're combining all the T1s that currently run individually, going to roll them into one big circuit.
I don't know, this came in July 15th, and I wasn't here, and I haven't had time to review any of it.
This is being rerouted.
Yeah, that's the copy that I made for my own information.
Oh, okay. From February?
No, the whole packet. I made a copy of the whole packet so I could be conversant with it.
Okay, that's yours?
Yes. See it down here instead, my copy.
Could we charge the auditor's office for use of our D3 or DS3?
I wouldn't have thought so, Commissioner, but I don't believe they pay for their individual telephone bills.
Yes.
We could, so we could use their auditors, their computer fund to help offset our charges?
Yes.
Thank you. Do we need to make a motion today? Would that make your life easier?
Not my life, Commissioner. I was assigned this. I just brought the issue up.
Thank you for following through on my...
So it's the pleasure of the board. As far as the order goes, if he can pay for a T1 line, he can certainly be
Offset the cost.
offset the cost of a DS3 depending on the bandwidth use.
And there's other facility or other agencies in this building also that are using their own funds to pay for their own computers, but hopefully down the road, what I see, we can use those monies to offset some of our general fund costs
We
here.
can set up an internal mechanism for costing that back, yes, Commissioner.
Thank you.
My question would be, do we not already do that through Maximus and the chargeback that we give to those departments?
We could probably do it through the indirect cost back.
No, my question was, do we not already do it?
I'm not sure we're doing any direct costing with Maximus. Mr. Ocasie, can you speak to that?
Yes, we do direct costing back to special revenue funds.
Special revenue.
Not direct, indirect. So we pay up front, meaning the general fund, and then we recoup through the special.
Is the telephone included in
Yes, it
that?
is.
So
Yes.
then computer could also be if it's not already.
Yes.
Yes.
So it appears that we need to do a little bit more research. Commissioner Basie's asked for a week. I would request that this be placed on the agenda for final approval next week then.
That's fine.
Thank you all for your input.
Anything else you'd like to bring from the floor, Mr. Cortez?
No, simply reminding that I requested an executive session for the potential purchase of real estate and for personnel new hiring issues.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. This is the county prosecutor, Mr. Ennis.
I have a request to review some pending litigation matters with the commissioners also.
Okay.
Commissioner's report.
Commissioner Massey?
No, I think I talked enough.
Yeah, you got it right front. Commissioner Blair?
At 12 o'clock, we're supposed to be at the airport for a great announcement. What time is it now?
10 to 11.
Okay. I have no report. Thank you,
Thank
Commissioner
you.
Moore.
I have none.
Old business, we have some decisions to make on some annexations.
Well, before you move, do we
Okay.
need to make decisions on annexation today? Is that what this is all about?
Yes, we do, Commissioner.
And nobody's here, it looks like, to...
Well, we closed the hearing as
So
far
they
as
don't- they don't have to
evidence.
show up and-
There's no more evidence. You can discuss it.
All we're doing is rendering decision? Is that the issue?
Other than I would note that one of the things we were waiting for was a formal approval of the JED contract by the city of Elyria, and they did pass an ordinance Monday evening.
Okay, my apologies, I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
That's okay.
Okay.
The first one would be for 37.39 acres from Elyria Township to the city of Elyria, Ohio. Attorney John Keys Walker was agent for MR Properties.
Are we voting on each one of these individually?
No, these are, well, we gotta find out, some of these are for the, are all these for this JED? The new JED that was?
No. That's, we need to talk about this a little bit.
That's what I mean, it's...
These decisions were held in abeyance because of the JED negotiations.
Correct.
And Mr. Ennis has reported that on Monday night, Elyria City Council passed an ordinance authorizing the JED with Elyria Township. On Monday night, or was it Tuesday night? Which night? Elyria Township
Monday.
also had a meeting with their constituency, and it was presented to them. This township is going to act on it later this month. Is that correct?
That's correct.
But it's my understanding the township already supports this.
Yes, that was the presentation that was made at the hearings on these. The trustees indicates that they would not have opposition to these annexations depended upon the city of Elyria approving an ordinance to enter into the JET.
Okay.
So their non-opposition was conditioned upon the ordinance which the city of Elyria has just passed.
These are all under the old annexation laws, and we don't have much of a choice.
Well, but both communities are in agreement with this because of the JET, correct?
That's
Is that on all A, B, C, D? All these four?
Yes.
Well, then why don't we just read them all and pass them all at once? Is that okay with the board?
That's why I asked if we had to vote on them individually. Jerry?
I think lawyers like to do them individually.
I like to do them individually when we're doing an annexation thing, Commissioners.
Okay.
Well, okay, so we're on A. I would just like to make a couple of comments, if I might, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
The total acreage of these four is 95.86 acres. And at the hearing on July 15th in Elyria Township, one of the issues that was presented to the Elyria Township residents was the fact that to obtain access to sanitary sewers has resulted in a loss of 122 acres over the last 3 years. So I'd just like to add that it's going to result in close to 200 acres when these are finalized. I'm supposing they're going to be finalized, and I just think that the residents of Elyria Township need to really be aware of the fact that slowly their township is being eaten away by these individual annexations. So I guess I'm putting in a plug for the Joint Economic Development District that Mr. Innes, the trustees of Elyria Township, and the mayor and his council spent an awfully long time negotiating. Jerry, could you just speak to that for a minute? How many times you've met? And it wasn't just somebody dreamed this up and this is the finalization. There was a lot of work that went into that.
Well, the trustees and the mayor have been meeting and talking about this for probably better than a year. The attorneys got involved and it became very serious probably starting in late January. And we've probably had anywhere from a half dozen to 10 meetings that have lasted 3 and 4 hours in length. So the discussions, and they've been give and take discussions, have been very, very lengthy. And just the public meeting in Elyria Township, I think, was something like 2 to 3 hours Monday, and the two newspapers estimated between 150 and 200 people involved in those.
I just think that this is a very important issue for the future of Elyria Township. Several years ago, the commissioners had a meeting, an executive session of types with the trustees of both Elyria and Carlisle Townships, trying to encourage them to work towards some type of JET agreement. So I'm very pleased, even though we might not be pleased with every aspect of the agreements. I think that this is a step towards providing a tool for development in the township. So I'd just like to say that publicly. So I guess you'd like a motion for approval on item number 8. Did you read it already?
Sure, read it.
Also move.
Okay. May I add something? I think we also want to, with respect to each of these motions, make a finding that the statutory requirements have been complied with, and we find that it's in the general good of the territory to be annexed to approve the annexation.
I'm going to choke on that.
she's
Can I
gonna-
just say the
I've said it, and
statutory
then-
requirements?
No, make Roxanne say it. Yeah,
You can just read it, make sure it's added to the resolution.
Roxanne can,
That wasn't my point.
make Roxanne read it. How's that?
That wasn't my point. My point was, is it not sufficient to say that we find that the statutory requirements are met? Do we have to add that second piece?
To the good of the territory.
Well, I suppose it's included in the statutory requirements. So.
Thank you. Then I will move if all it says is that the statutory requirements are met.
I'll second.
Any more discussion? Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Item B, 2.21 acres from Lorain Township to the City of Elyria, Ohio. Attorney John Keys Walker, agent for Lake Avenue Properties. It should read, that the resolution is approved. All statutory requirements have been met.
I did one.
You want to do two?
No, not that one. Maybe another one.
It breaks my heart to do any of them, but we have to. I mean, with the new laws, it's going to make it a little bit more difficult for annexations, so these are the old laws, and we have to do what we have to do, so I'll move on it.
Hang on a minute, hang on a minute.
Hang on, right in the middle, cut. Start that over.
Okay, go back
Try
to
that
where
again.
you said.
No, that's okay.
Okay.
You want to move that?
I moved.
I'll second.
Broke my heart, but I did it.
Any more discussion? Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Item C, 30.37 acres from Elyria Township to the City of Elyria, Ohio. Dr. Lehman, Church of the Open Door, is the agent. And if this is approved, all statutory requirements have been met.
Dave, you get the biggie.
Yeah, so moved.
I see you biting your
Second.
tongue there.
No, well, I'm fine. This is, no, everyone's talking negative. This is a positive aspect of what this board has done for the last couple of years, which is bringing communities together. So I don't have a problem with any of these annexations. So I so move.
I seconded.
Any more discussion? Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
And item D, 25.89 acres from Elyria Township to the City of Elyria, Ohio. Attorney Eric Sievers is agent for Fourth Overend Sons Incorporated. All statutory requirements have been met.
Also
So move. Second.
Second.
Oh, jeez.
Take your choice.
So move.
Makes your life easy.
I move.
Let's see, what are we doing already?
I move. She second.
Okay.
Commissioner
Discussion?
Vacy third.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
No new business?
I have none.
None. I move to waive the board correspondence.
Yeah, Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Public comment?
Anybody have anything to say? Mr. Kish, good morning.
Robert Kish, Elyria, Ohio, 7XC, that's 7 times C. It's amazing how topical today's discussion was. I am in awe of the word auditor, A-W-E, in awe. First of all, you have to remember, somebody said this a long time ago, you can fool some of the people some of the time. You can fool all of the people some of the time. But you can't fool all the people all the time. Now, the question I have is we do get an auditor's report on how many dollars the county is worth. Next week, that could change up or down, I would think. Because we found out what happened with Enron. We found out what happened with Xerox, WorldCom, and to top that, global double crossing. So I don't know, as an auditor's report really, truly reflects what we had. The only thing that really reflects what we had was the money we had in the bank before we started the Justice Center. I was a little confused, and still am confused, of the discussion we held in this room regarding recycled carpeting at the Columbia Gas Building rehabilitation. I was pleased that cost came in relatively low. Along came another building that needed carpeting, and that was because we used Lorain County funds. Along came another carpeting request, same recycling type idea, and yet the carpeting in the other building cost more. This was explained to me because the funds came from, I guess, Columbus. It reminded me of the fact that my left pocket had money in it when I started. Some of it went in Lorain County. My right pocket had money in it when we started. More of it left my pocket to go to Columbus to buy the carpeting in the second building. And lo and behold, I don't know what the carpet's going to be in the Justice Center. I know we've got the word value engineering, but we need value purchasing, perhaps value city. But I am just pleased as punch that we didn't have to build the federal building in Elyria, the Federal Justice Center. If you saw that, and it's made the news, if you haven't, on the Plain Dealer, this building is $192 million with 400 employees. I understand we're going to have 450 employees across the street. So we have beat them. But then I'm also reminded, my goodness, there went my 2 hind pockets. They got me in both pockets. Our money is rapidly being built as monuments. Meanwhile, jobs are leaving. City of Lorain is concerned they're going to have another audit by 2 people because they can't agree whether they have money or don't have money. You can hire any auditor you want and they'll come up with any figure you want. Somebody once said, figures don't lie, but liars can figure. Thank you. Bye.
Bob, does anybody else have any public comment? Seeing none, we move into executive session.
I'll second.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
I was waiting for Mike to